Even though M1 based Macs are not gaming machines, there are quite a few AAA games that were ported to macOS by some devoted devs. Today we're going to have a look at my favourite ones to play on M1. This list is broken down into genres. Use the timecodes to browse your favourite genre. Also, please follow the links in the video description on where you can buy all these games. Our first genre to look at is first-person shooters. Borderlands 3 is honestly one of the last huge AAA games to arrive on Mac back in 2019. Instead of being developed for Mac by Aspyr Media, it was done in-house by Gearbox with support for the Metal API. It runs through Rosetta on M1, and the performance between each chip isn't that different, as the Mac requirements are stupidly high. I can forgive that as it's an excellent shooter-looter and it has cross-play co-op with Windows PC. I've also included Borderlands 2 here, as it was fairly recently updated for the 64-bit architecture and the Metal API. It runs pretty damn well on every M1 chip, even if it isn't optimized for the ARM architecture. It may be quite an old game now, but you can't disagree that its shooting gameplay still holds up in 2022 very well. Black Ops 3 is currently the only COD you can play on M1. All the earlier games in the series that had a Mac version are 32-bit and won't work here. While Black Ops 3 is from 2015, graphically it still holds up nicely to the newer games in the franchise. It contains a decent single-player campaign, probably some of the best zombie maps in the franchise, and it has the classic multiplayer modes you know and love. The main downside to this one is that it doesn't have cross-platform multiplayer with Windows, and access to mod tools or modded content is not available on Mac. Feral Interactive will show up a lot on this list, and for good reason. They port excellent AAA games to Mac. Deus Ex Mankind Divided is still one of the most demanding games on PC, and the fact that it even runs on the baseline M1 chip is kind of unbelievable. Sure, the game is not as strong as its predecessor, but it's still fun. It takes place in 2029. Mechanically augmented humans have been deemed outcasts. You play as a covert operative who is armed with heaps of crazy weapons and augmentations. Your goal? Unravel a worldwide conspiracy. You can buy all the Metro games individually on Mac, but you get a good sale with this Metro Saga bundle on Steam. It includes 2014's Metro 2033 Redux and Metro Last Light Redux. Steam will say they are not supported, but don't worry, they're actually 64-bit applications that run on M1 but under OpenGL. Thankfully, the performance is fine on M1 as they are quite old now. Also included is 2019's Metro Exodus, which has been specifically optimized for M1 via Rosetta 2 and Molten VK. Every one of these games contains a great single-player story going over the journey from the shattered subway tunnels of Moscow to the far-flung wastelands of post-apocalyptic Russia. Likewise, on the Mac App Store, you can get the first 2 Bioshock games in a cheaper bundle, or you can buy them separately on your preferred gaming platform. Both games have been updated with 4K resolution support, which is possible on M1 Pro and M1 Max, and high-res textures, models, and interface is here now. Even the first M1 chip can do 1080p max settings for both games, which is cool. Race to your heart's content in these thrilling races on M1. While it would be very nice to have Dirt Rally 2.0 on Mac, it looks like that will never happen. Thankfully, the original 2015 Dirt Rally is still a great, authentic and thrilling rally game to try on M1. It was also one of Feral Interactive's first games to support the Metal framework back in 2017, which means it runs like a charm on M1, supporting many native resolutions and various models at high graphical settings. And all of this is working on an early version of the Metal framework too, which is great. But then again, this game isn't that demanding. It's the same story with Dirt 4. We don't have the next game on Mac. Again, it doesn't really matter, as Dirt 4 is typically preferred by the community over Dirt 5. I mean, Dirt 3 is definitely much better than both of these, but anyways, I digress. Yes, this game is still way more arcadey than Dirt Rally, and in many ways isn't as challenging. It's still a thrill though, and a good off-road racing experience. It also supports 4K on every M1 chip, which is bonkers. It's time to make history and win the 2017 World Championship. F1 2017 is the latest game in the series for Mac. It's not a massive shame, again, as you're really just missing out on the latest driver rosters and some new minor gameplay mechanics. Graphically, it hasn't changed that much either. It's just a terrific Formula 1 racing game. While I don't imagine many of you will pick this one up, as you can get F1 2017, I just thought I'd put it here as it's really the last AAA racer on Mac right now. It was also Feral Interactive's first game ever to support the Metal framework back in 2017. Sadly, there are not many AAA adventure games on Mac. In fact, I can only find 3 from one franchise. That is the Life is Strange games. You can buy each game separately on your preferred gaming platform, or there is a nice bundle on the Mac App Store with Life is Strange from 2015, Before the Storm from 2017, and Life is Strange 2 from 2018. While not considered typical AAA games with jaw-dropping graphics or guns and action, the Life is Strange series brings you 3 beautifully written episodic adventures about choice, consequence, and how one extraordinary day can change your life forever. It was published by Square Enix and developed for Mac by Feral Interactive, and Feral told me they classify these games as AAA. Life is Strange 2 is considerably more demanding and much better looking, to be honest, so it's best played at 900p on M1 or a slightly higher resolution on M1 Pro and M1 Max. Alrighty, now let's look at the AAA action-adventure games that you can play on M1. Mac gamers can play all 3 action-adventure games in the thrilling origin story of Lara Croft. Again, you can buy all games separately on your preferred gaming platform, or buy them all together for a total cheaper price in the Mac App Store. The first game is definitely the best in terms of its story and narrative pacing, and also the way that it explores how Lara goes from naive explorer to hardened adventurer is a really spectacular experience. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is also one of the few games on Mac with HDR support, and it's gorgeous. While we don't have GTA 5 on Mac, the next best thing available for us is Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, which is often overlooked. It is an open-world action-adventure set in Hong Kong. The game is a little old, sure, but its more stylized visuals allow it to be a timeless classic. It's also running on OpenGL, which means its performance isn't amazing on any M1 chip, but it's by all means playable. It's just about the same performance as the PS4 or Xbox One version. As Master Assassin Agent 47, players carry out contract hits on powerful, high-profile targets in exotic locations around the world. Each mission is set in a huge, detailed, and heavily populated sandbox level that challenges players to complete it in the most creative way possible. 2014's Thief definitely isn't as highly regarded as the prior games in the successful Stealth series because it has some repetitive animations, too much hand-holding, and the AI isn't amazing. That being said, the graphics are noticeably better though, and the stealth gameplay is mostly what you'll play this for. It's excellent in that regard. The game is powered by OpenGL. Thankfully, Thief is quite slow paced, so it's still enjoyable even with a mixed frame rate. It's time to get your hearts racing in these survival horror games. Dying Light made a surprise release on Mac in December 2016. I wasn't expecting it at all. It's a fantastic parkour zombie survival game, and the whole game can be played solo or with 3 others in cross-platform co-op. It was recently updated for M1 with Metal API support, so it runs really well even though it is through Rosetta 2. In fact, it's better than the PS4 and Xbox One version on the baseline M1 chip, which is crazy. Alien Isolation was recently ported to iOS and runs under the Metal API and ARM architecture there. In many ways, that port is far superior. I just hope Feral can update the Mac M1 port for ARM and the Metal API and 60 FPS at higher settings. It's one of the best survival horror games you can get on any platform. Nothing has really come close to it in terms of, raw survival horror. You are hunted by an unstoppable and terrifying xenomorph alien, and the characters you interact with are very well written. I strongly suggest the game. I always forget that Outlast came to Mac all those years back. You follow journalist Miles Upshur and will explore Mount Massive Asylum and try to survive long enough to discover its terrible secret. The game is powered by OpenGL, which is a recurring theme with many of these old AAA games on this list, but it's still an enjoyable time. It's also really, really scary. I wish I didn't have to play it because, oh my god, my heart. Get lost for hours, days, or even months in these RPGs for Mac. Sure, Baldur's Gate 3 is an early access title, and its performance on M1 has changed a lot during its development. It's still the most advanced game though to showcase the GPU power of M1, with the latest support for the Metal framework, HDR support, AMD FSR 1 support, and a native ARM build. Furthermore, it's just a high-quality role-playing experience where you will gather your party and return to the Forgotten Realms in a tale of fellowship and betrayal, sacrifice and survival, and the lure of absolute power. Divinity Original Sin 2 is probably one of, if not the best RPGs of this modern gaming era. It's great that Larian and Apple worked at getting it to Mac back in 2019. The Mac dev Elvarels have also optimized it for M1 chips via a special version of Rosetta 2, so it can run at ultra settings and high resolutions on every M1 chip. It may not have the cinematic dialogue cutscenes from Baldur's Gate 3, but for me, the writing and story here is probably a little stronger, obviously more complete. It also supports HDR. The Bard's Tale 4 is the triumphant return of one of the most iconic RPG series of all time. Delve into a tactically rich combat system that rewards creativity, solve puzzles to gain treasure and advantages, and discover a beautifully crafted world. It's criminally underrated, especially on Mac. No one talks about it, so check it out. Yes, KOTOR 2 may be quite an old game now, but it remains not just a great RPG, but one of the best Star Wars video games ever produced. And as you'd expect, it runs like a charm on M1, and so does the first game if you're interested in that one too. You might be saying, dude, why not Wasteland 3? It's on Mac. Yes, it is, but it's not supported on M1 and has big graphical bugs right now. The second game is still really good though. It's from the producer of the original Fallout, so the tone of the game is kind of similar. It has over 80 hours of gameplay, and you can deck out your Ranger squad with devastating weaponry. Prepare to make some difficult choices too that will affect your whole squad. Join a large community in these MMORPGs on M1. World of Warcraft is very old now, but it's pioneered Mac gaming during many transitions. It was one of the first games to support the Metal framework in 2016, and the first game to support the ARM architecture on M1 in 2020. In general, with this one, Blizzard broke the mold with its rich world and game systems, which highly encouraged player communities and friendships. 18 years later, players are still happily playing and paying for World of Warcraft. I have absolutely no idea how to play this free MMO game, but I do know this. CCP announced last year when the game went native on M1, EVE Online harnesses the Metal API, resulting in improved graphical fidelity, lower memory use, and CPU optimization for a smoother gameplay experience. Additionally, Mac keyboard and mouse shortcuts are now supported. Mac users arriving in New Eden for the first time can jump into the MMO's revamped new player experience, which features a narrative-driven training program and customizable skill plans. The Elder Scrolls Online is mostly presented without limits. Battle, craft, steal, siege, or explore and combine different types of armor, weapons, and abilities to create your own playstyle. The story and quests feel like they are from a regular RPG that has added multiplayer, giving the gameplay a more enjoyable feeling. The general performance here is acceptable on every M1 chip, but there are some scenes when you will get locked out of a zone due to crashes. Much of this could be because the game is powered by Molten VK on Mac, and it isn't really officially supported on M1, so that's just a heads up. Final Fantasy XIV Online has a great story, many class options, and fun combat. While most MMOs would require you to create brand new characters to try out different classes, here a smart armory system lets you experience all of the jobs, classes on a single character. Players can keep busy with a variety of combat, crafting, housing, fashion guilds, and more. Final Fantasy XIV Online on Mac is interesting as it's not a native Mac application. Square Enix and Codeweavers used a customized version of Wine and Molten VK to get it working on Mac. Are there any AAA sports games on M1? Well, all we have on offer is NBA 2K22 Arcade Edition, which some of you might not consider AAA for the sole reason of it being on Apple Arcade, but for me it fits in this video as it's developed by NBA 2K and has console quality graphics, 60 FPS or 120 FPS support on M1 Pro and M1 Max, a quick match mode, my career mode, the association mode, blacktop, and multiplayer between other Apple devices. Turn on your thinking caps with these high quality strategy games on M1. I'm sorry, I have no clue how to play this one, and I really don't want to learn. I know Civ 6 is the most popular grand strategy game on M1 or Mac in general. It has always received all the expansions of the Windows version. It used to struggle on Intel Macs due to a lack of Metal support and high CPU loads, but since then Aspire have updated it for the Metal API and fixed a number of bugs on M1, and even though it runs through Rosetta, its performance is acceptable. Humankind is a new alternative to Civ 6 on Mac. Again, I have no idea what the heck to do here. This one isn't as well received as Civ 6 mainly due to a few bugs, and it isn't officially supported on Steam for M1 yet. To play the game on M1, you have to launch the game from its root folder on Steam right now. Otherwise, once you get it up and running, it performs very well on every M1 chip due to running under the ARM architecture. Oh, I'm sorry guys, I just have no idea what's going on here. I'm not really into grand strategy games. Anyway, Crusader Kings 3 is another grand strategy game mixed with some RPG elements. This port isn't great though, it actually gets much better performance if you play it through Parallels. This could be because the silly dev Paradox Interactive shipped it to Mac with OpenGL support. OpenGL on Mac in 2020. What were you thinking, you bloody idiots? Coming in next week, the 17th of February, Total War Warhammer 3 is the grand conclusion to the Warhammer trilogy. Rally your forces and step into the realm of chaos, a dimension of mind-bending horror, where the very fate of the world will be decided. The game is Feral Interactive's first completely new AAA title in M1. It's also one of the other games to show the true power of gaming on Apple Silicon. StarCraft 2 is a terrific RTS title that offers an unbelievable amount of value as a free game. You have an engaging single-player campaign, legendary multiplayer modes and fun cooperative missions, as well as hundreds of options in arcade, means you can play this one forever. I've always loved StarCraft for its story, and StarCraft 2 picks up after the events of the original game and its expansion Blood War. An epic battle for territory, humanity and love awaits you in Wings of Liberty. Company of Heroes 2 has you directing troops through fast-paced real-time battles in the brutal fight to turn the tide of World War II. From the desperate defense of Stalingrad to victory in Berlin, you must defeat a tenacious enemy in the deadly cold of the Russian winter. In 2018, this one was updated from OpenGL to Metal, so on the baseline M1 it gets 40 to 60 FPS at 1080p in default settings, and it's obviously significantly better performance on M1 Pro and M1 Max. Feral, please bring this game to mobile, please. Our last game to look at is a Total War Saga Troy. Inspired by the Iliad, Homer's sweeping tale of romance and bloodshed, Troy focuses on the historical flashpoint of the Trojan War from both the Greek and Trojan perspectives. In this striking recreation of the Bronze Age Mediterranean conflict. In late 2021, Feral Interactive updated Troy for the ARM architecture on M1 via the App Store. It will also be coming to other platforms soon. The performance running on ARM is much better than running on Rosetta, with in some instances plus 10 FPS. Our last genre is simulation, where you can get yourself lost in the roles of other people's jobs. Farming Simulator 22 allows players to look after a farm, harvest crops, tend to animals, manage productions, and take on seasonal challenges. Visually, the game looks gorgeous, and it's native on M1 too. It supports 4K high on M1 Max, 1440p high on M1 Pro, and 1080p high on M1. In Euro Truck Simulator 2, you travel across Europe as a trucker. Basically, the main objective here is delivering important cargo across great distances. But there are many cities to explore, different trucks to operate, you can buy a garage, hire drivers, manage your company, and much more. Operate a coaster park in Planet Coaster. The name kind of implies what it is. The baseline M1 version sees little worse performance than the PS4 and Xbox One version. That being said, it still looks good and is very playable by all means. Mod support on Steam for Mac is great too. This is Aspyr Media's last Mac port, which is a surprise considering what they've worked on before. I'm not complaining, it's just different to what they've worked on, usually.
Just to confirm, you'd like to call Dad Jones?
No.
I will not then. Who would you like to call?
I don't want to call anyone Siri, shut up.
No problem, I won't.
There is nothing quite like a good city simulator. This particular simulation genre, has always been very healthy on Mac, all the way since, the the 90s or the 80s. But this is everyone's favorite on Mac today, Cities Skylines. Sadly, it's quite hard to get well over 40 FPS in this game for any M1 chip at a reasonable resolution. Much of this could be because the game is running on OpenGL for some stupid reason now. It was on Metal, but now it's on OpenGL. That is okay, as these games don't require a massive frame rate. It's just weird that it's on OpenGL now and not Metal. Why? I don't know. Our last game in the simulation genre is Tropico 6. Prove yourself as a feared dictator or peace-loving statesman on the island state of Tropico and shape the fate of your very own banana republic through 4 distinctive eras. The game supports ultra graphics on every M1 chip and can be played at 4K on M1 Max and M1 Pro, or 1080p or 1440p on M1. It's very well optimized for M1. Before we go, let's take a look at some AAA games by Feral Interactive which are no longer on sale for Mac, but they still offer a Mac version on Steam if you already have them or if you choose to buy and download them. In Batman Arkham City, as the legendary Caped Crusader, you will swoop into the gothic open-air prison of Arkham City and face off against iconic villains including the Joker and Mr. Freeze. In Shadow of Mordor, fight through Mordor and uncover the truth of the spirit that compels you. Discover the origins of the Rings of Power, build your legend, and ultimately confront the evil of Sauron in this Chronicle of Middle-earth. In Mad Max, you play as Max, who is mad. He is a reluctant hero and survivor who wants nothing more than to leave the madness behind and find solace. Can he do it? I guess you'll find out. This is probably one of the most underrated open world games on any platform. It is so freaking good, and it was really a miracle that it ever came to Mac in the first place. You have to check it out if you haven't already. So, what AAA games have you played on your M1 based Mac? Let me know in the comments. Technically, I showed a little more than 40 AAA Mac games here. There are actually quite a few to look at, but the problem is that they are mostly rather old or are not fully optimized for M1. I really don't see the state of AAA gaming on Mac changing dramatically anytime soon, if ever, if I'm honest. Unless Apple work more closely with more first-party developers like they have done with Larian Studios on Baldur's Gate 3 and 4A Games on Metro Exodus. I also think we need to try harder to ask developers to port their AAA games to Mac. Often there are just not enough gamers to warrant a port on Mac, or the dev doesn't want to work with the Metal framework. Anyway, leave a like if you found this video helpful and subscribe and turn on notifications to stay up to date with everything Mac gaming related. My name is Stewie and thanks for watching.